Michelle's farm, and I look like a mess because I didn't plan on doing this video. I was just going to make dinner, and then I realized I was making chicken and dumplings, and I thought I should do a video on how to make dumplings. So I'm not going to do the whole everything, the chicken soup part, because you can add dumplings to almost any kind of soup or stew. Chicken noodle soup, beef stew, beef soup, even barley soup, anything that's a soup or stew. If it has a broth that can boil, you can add dumplings to it. So I'm just going to teach you how to make the dumplings. And I apologize again for my messy appearance, because like I said, I had no intention of doing a video today at all, but I don't want to miss the opportunity to share something that's so easy and adds a lot to a meal and can make a scant meal into a hearty meal just by the presence of the home-style dumpling. First thing you're going to need is to have whatever kind of soup you're making, and I'm just making a creamy chicken vegetable soup. Then the next thing you need is 2 cups of flour. And I'm adding the 2 cups of flour just to a mixing bowl. You're going to need 4 teaspoons of baking powder. You're going to need 1 teaspoon of parsley. And if you don't have parsley or don't like parsley, you can leave this out. You're going to need a teaspoon of and a garlic powder. And again, if you feel like this isn't something that goes with whatever you're serving the dumplings with, you don't have to add 1 teaspoon of salt. Pepper to your taste. I'm just going to add a little less than a teaspoon. You're also going to need 2 teaspoons of white sugar. You're going to need 2 tablespoons of butter. And I usually cube it. And then we're going to need 1 cup of milk. Okay, we're going to mix all that together. I'm wearing these gloves because at a certain point it becomes easier to do it with the gloves than the spoon. Just sort of rolling it around the bowl so I can get all the stuff off of there. Okay, then you have a dough. I'm going to mix my dough up really well because I can see I have a few lumps of baking powder in there. And my butter is not completely mixed through, so I'm just going to mix it together nice here. Okay, and you want to make sure that your soup or stew or whatever you're adding it to is at a nice boil. Alright, now some people say to drop it by the spoonful, but I like just making little balls about the size of a quarter. And just dropping those in. I like the uniformness of that. And also if you're feeding a lot of people, just make sure that more people are going to get dumplings. If you just drop it by the spoonful, they're sort of not uniform, and somebody might get a big one and somebody might not get as many. But if you're dropping them in make little balls, they're a little bit more uniform, and you'll find out most people have. And they also cook faster because you have basically everything almost the same size. And if you're doing them by the spoonful, sometimes you'll have a big one and then you'll have little ones. The little ones will cook faster, and then you'll find yourself you're still cooking, waiting for those big ones to get done. You want to try to get them, you don't want them sticking to each other. Sometimes they'll try. Other times, I mean most of the time they don't stick together, but when you start getting the pan full like it is right now. So when I get them all in here, I'll start using the spoon to push them under. You see them as they start cooking, they start expanding. Making more or less. You don't have a great big pot. Like I said, I'm feeding 5 people, and I always try to make extra because we eat it for lunch and other meals and stuff. So I'm going to turn my temperature up because you really want a good rolling boil. And they'll keep getting bigger until they reach a certain point, and then they just don't expand anymore. And that's what you want. You want them to just become like a solid dumpling. Now I'm going to put my lid on. It's at a rolling boil. When I see a bunch of bubbles, I'm going to turn it down to simmer. And then I'm going to let it simmer for 10 to 15 minutes. And if you're not feeling real confident about it, you can always take one out and cut it in half after about 10 minutes, and you can check it. And the inside, it should be sort of uniform. I mean, you don't want it like gooey in the center. So it should be like a uniform consistency, texture all the way through. And it'll be sort of like haven't had a homemade dumpling. How can I describe it? Sort of, if you took a piece of white bread and rolled it into a ball. When we were kids, my brother and I would make what we called bread balls, and we would take, usually if we could get away with it, a little bit of butter and stick it in the middle. We'd take the crust off and stick a little bit of butter in the ball and then just smush it up into a ball, and your butter was in the middle. A lot of times we didn't get away with grabbing the butter, so we just had to make bread balls, just the ball. But if you've ever done that, if you've ever smushed up a piece of white bread into a ball, it sort of feels like that. It'll be a little wet. It'll be like sort of if you had like a wet little ball of bread. So it's done. It's not like bread dough. It's not uncooked, but it's sort of like so it's not going to be hard like bread that isn't immersed in some kind of liquid. Obviously, it's going to be a wet, moist, breadish kind of ball because it's in a broth. The drier, if you've got it in stew instead of a soup, it may be a little bit drier. Okay, I'm just going to let mine simmer for 10 minutes and then we'll come back and look at it. Okay, and it's all done, and here is a good example of, let me see if I can dry it up, of a single dumpling. And they look good, and it's going to be a yummy dinner. So I hope you enjoyed these quick and easy dumplings, and I hope you can add them to one of your future meals. And this is Angie from Canterbury Trails Farm. Thanks for joining us.